Hello again, Cons here. Just before we get into the Fatalis fight itself, let me show you the sets that I used. I'm going to be using Frostcraft Greatsword, so yeah, it's very typical for me, but I will be doing other weapons, other matchups in a bit, so do feel free to stick around if you don't play Greatsword but want to see a guide for something else, and do comment if there are any weapons in particular you want me to try. I have a few that I want to try, but I'm not entirely sure what people want to see. Anyway, the three sets that I'm using here, don't worry if you don't have the Adept Stormslinger, it's a PS4 exclusive, but you don't need it. This is just for proccing Fortify. It's a weapon that has Fortify on it, and then I have a bunch of Safi pieces just for the self-damaging effect. If you don't have this, not a big deal. Take any weapon with a slot, put Fortify on it, and then just blow yourself up with bombs, going naked without armor. And a couple of Mega Barrel Bombs will be enough to take you out. So this is just a set for proccing Fortify quickly. You don't even need this technically if you don't want to force Fortify at the start. But we'll talk about those sorts of considerations in a second. I just want to show you the sets now. In fact, I won't even talk about the skills just yet. I'll talk about them when we get into the hunt. But for now, I'll just show you the things that you can emulate them if you want to. There you go. I've showed off everything, all the decorations, all the skills and stuff. So this is the opening set. The only real difference here is I've got Ghillie Mantle and I have Heavy Artillery. But again, we'll talk about that in just a second. And then I have the main set that I'm going to be using throughout the hunt, which is a slight variant of that has dropped Heavy Artillery because we don't need it anymore, and uses different mantles and tinkers around with the skills to get a bit more DPS. None of this is set in stone. Run whatever you like. The key thing is to have a set to proc Fortify if you want, and other than that, just have a set with Heavy Artillery. And if you aren't willing to change from a set with Heavy Artillery to one without Heavy Artillery, it doesn't really matter. Just take a regular DPS set and put Heavy Artillery on it for the opening. And that's assuming you want to use the opening, which again we'll talk about when we get into the hunt itself. But yeah, I think I've showed everything here, so let's actually get into it. So we have the hunt itself. You'll see I've gone in with my Fortify proccing set. I accidentally almost buffed because I forgot I was supposed to be taking my own life. I didn't do this too many times, so I was still getting used to the strat. Here, so this is the Stormslinger. It's a PS4 exclusive weapon if you aren't aware. It just does a lot of self-damage, so it's a fairly easy way to take your own life at the start of quests, and then I punch with the Safi effect to take myself out. Don't worry if you don't have it. Again, as I said, just go in naked with bombs. Make sure you have Fortify on the set. If you aren't aware, by the way, if you have Fortify on multiple sets and you swap between them, you keep the buff between set changes. However, if you swap to a set without Fortify, then you will lose it. So anyway, I'm proccing Fortify twice. Now that is a consideration you have to make yourself. If you need the extra 2 cards, you do get 5 on this quest, so don't worry about it too much, and you will get a chunk of extra defense from doing this, so a lot of one-shots aren't one-shots anymore. However, if you need those extra cards, you don't need to proc Fortify straight away. You can just wait for Fatalis to kill you naturally and use that as an excuse to proc Fortify. Now you see I'm changing to the opener set that we just showed previously. Yeah, and I also didn't eat before the quest. You can eat before the quest, doesn't really make a difference. Just proc an Ancient Potion to get your stuff back. Or maybe I did eat before the quest, I don't really remember. Anyway, now I'm just going to buff up and get into it with the opener. But yeah, so you can wait for Fatalis to take you out. The issue is there's kind of 2 problems here. There's 2 main considerations. You're either going to be, carting 5 times and failing the quest, in which case don't forget to eat for safeguard, by the way, 1 time. You're going to either be carting 5 times and failing the quest that way, or you're going to be timing out because you were playing safe and you weren't able to do that much DPS. Whether or not you want to proc Fortify right at the start really depends on which of those 2 issues you're bumping into. If you're struggling to get to the end of the quest with all 5 carts, then maybe don't proc Fortify like yourself. Wait for Fatalis to kill you naturally. However, if you find that you're timing out, then yeah, you probably want to proc Fortify at the start twice yourself manually, and then that way you'll get the extra 20% damage throughout the quest. So you'll see I'm just loading up the cannons, by the way. I put Ghillie Mantle on before I came out here. As I mentioned, this set has Heavy Artillery and Ghillie Mantle on it. All of my sets have Evade Extender, by the way. I find Evade Extender really nice for rolling out of Fatalis' moves. I will analyze the main set that I use and why I picked those skills right at the end of the video, which is, and that kind of goes for everything pretty much, because the only real difference here is Ghillie and Heavy Artillery. So you push this 3 times. You want to get the prompt to flash 3 times. You push the first cannon that's closer to it 1 time to the right, and that will line everything up perfectly, and you'll see how it goes down now. Fire the cannon. I've seen people recommend you swap to like a Rocksteady Mantle here. I never really bother because it seems to be fairly consistent. But yeah, so when you fire that, your Ghillie Mantle will proc, will sort of expire. That's the reason we don't put Heavy Artillery on the Ghillie Mantle, because you lose the effect. And then you shoot these, and you can see we're doing 450 damage 10 times. That's 4,500 free damage plus a knockdown, at which point you're going to get 2 full level 3s. And I'll just show that. Yep. And then you can even get a level 1 if you're feeling juicy. Then I like to flinch shot. This is kind of an opener that does overall the flinch. So those 2 attacks did like 1,500 between them. We've got the 4,500 there, so that's 6,000. This will do another somewhere in the region of like, I think 1300 damage, so we're up to like 73. Put on your evasion mantle, iframe the roar to get evasion mantle procced. If you're positioned well enough, you'll even land at level 3 on the head, and that's another like 1200 damage. So you can see we're doing something in the region of like 10,000 damage right at the start of the quest, which is like a sixth of all of Fatalis' health. Be careful with that move, by the way. And yeah, so now the issue is we've done that damage. It does take a bit of time to set up fortify and all that stuff. So it's not like it's super efficient. It's not a free 10,000 damage right at, you know, minute 0 of the quest. This is consuming your time. However, it's just a really nice way to start the quest, in my opinion. His head will always flinch on that level 3 that you get after the evasion mantle proc. And now here what we're going to do is we could Farcaster back and change to our main set straight away. But obviously I like to wait for evasion mantle. I might as well get good use out of it. Or as good use as possible out of it. And then after that we will wait for Fatalis to just sort of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We'll wait for Fatalis to do its first Nova. When it comes back from its first Nova, it's flying in the air. If you Farcaster while it's flying in the air, by the time you come back, it will be on the ground again. And so then what we're going to do is we're going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We're going to use our Farcaster when Fatalis is in the air, change to our main set, and then that way it'll come straight down. Yeah. I mean, I will talk about the openings over the course of this hunt. It is a fairly long hunt. So we've got to have plenty of opportunities to talk about all the openings and stuff. But at the start, I just want to talk about this weird opening and all the jank that's going on here for anyone who doesn't understand it. You'll see, between that 10,000 damage and then all of that damage we did afterwards, Fatalis will usually be doing its Nova before your evasion mantle even expires. Obviously, it will depend on just how sort of good you are at punishing Fatalis. Again, we'll talk about the different punishes we have here. Now, what else do I need to talk about? Okay, so we're about to fly back to camp after the Nova. You can't focus during the Nova. But because I have heavy artillery on this set... Oh, no. Okay. I was going to say, I thought I used the roaming ballista for the double damage, but I guess not. We're going to head and change to our main set, which is the same set, but it drops heavy artillery. Jiggles in a bit more DPS skills. And then swaps out the mantles from Evasion Ghillie to Temporal Rocksteady, which are the mantles that I like to use throughout the hunt. I think I'm also refreshing my items here. So, items. This is a pretty important consideration. You can bring the combines for 20 ancient potions using nourishing extracts and Kelby horns. So if you put those on your radial menu, it just means that you'll have to Farcaster less. Every second that you spend mega potioning is a second that Fatalis is probably going to hit you again because you've been slowed down, and also time that you're wasting. Whereas if you heal yourself just using ancient potions, you can carry 20 with you. And it's instant heal, so it's much faster and you get straight back into the action. For people who are timing out on the quest, this is probably one of the biggest changes you can make to your playstyle. Because, yeah, Mega Potions are a huge time sink. Ancient Potions are not only faster, they give you more health, and they're just generally better to use. They also increase your stamina, so they're nice for if you cut. So yeah, make sure you're using Ancient Potions, put them on your radio menu. You might need to farm some resources a little bit beforehand, using like the cats and the farming, the melding NPC and the Steamworks and whatever NPCs. But I would advise that you build up your resources. Now, as far as the actual playstyle itself goes, because I think I've basically talked about everything I have to. Oh, other thing is when you eat for safeguard, because we are killing 2 carts on fortify. You might need the extra cart, so you might want to eat for fortify. You can eat for feline bombardier. However, I probably wouldn't, just because it's only worth like an extra 50 damage per bomb. So you're getting 500 damage for your food skill. It's a little bit of a steep investment for what is essentially just 1 level 1 slash on the head. But yeah, okay, so I'm just trying to think, is there any like janky weirdness that I need to talk about? Okay, mechanics of the fight. I'm going to do a video on these in more detail and like all of the sort of advanced tricks that I did one for Alatrion. But I will give you a brief overview here. The most important thing is you've probably found that oh yeah, so while Fatalis is on the ground on all 4 legs, that's when you're supposed to wallbang it, by the way. If you wallbang it while its head is in the air, you don't actually get the 1300 damage. I didn't mention that earlier, but make sure it's on all 4s when you try to wallbang. Oh, and rage mode. It takes 10% more damage during rage, and obviously you have like skills like agitator. So if you're timing out, that is another improvement you can make. Is make sure you keep Fatalis enraged using claw swipes and flint shots and stuff like that as much as possible. Watch out for that pin. Whenever you actually, I'll talk about that when I talk about the playstyle itself. Damn it, I was about to say something important and I've completely forgotten what it was. Yes. Okay, so the mechanic of the fight, the big one, break the horn. The horn has 2 breaks to it. First time you break it, it breaks like one of the horns on his head. The second time you break it, it breaks his eye. The horn break itself that you get, that first head break, the one that's the horn break, not the eye break, the horn break itself, means that the final phase that Fatalis goes into, the blue flame mode, is much more manageable. It does much less damage, and he's like he doesn't have the blue flames basically, so it kind of trivializes the final section of the fight, makes it about as difficult as phase 2. So you want to break the horn, so you want to focus damage on the head. That said, and also the eye break itself, the second break is purely for getting an evil eye at the as one of the rewards, a guaranteed eye, which is like the mantle drop for Fatalis. But yeah, the first horn break is the most important thing. If you are unable to get the horn break by the time it goes into its super rage mode, that is the second Nova, by the way. After it does the second Nova, where you have to go to like the door. If you're unable to get his horn broken by then, I would recommend, well, obviously you have your 2 ballistae. At that point, I would then use the ballistas well, I mean, there you go. You see how quickly we got that though, right? Well before the Nova. It's yeah, it should be easy enough to get the horn break, but obviously you have the 2 ballistas that are some free openings, and you also have the Dragonator at one point, which will occur. So you can hold out for that. However, if you're struggling, then I would recommend putting Part Breaker on the set, because the blue flame mode, basically everything is a one-shot, and so you really want to be you really want to break that horn before the final phase of the fight. Anyway, I think that basically covers all of the general jank. I know it took me like 15 minutes to actually explain all of that, but there's a lot to talk about in this fight. Now we can talk about the actual openings themselves. So I'm playing Frostcraft Greatsword, obviously. I'm going to do guides for other videos. I'm probably going to start off with like IG and maybe go to dual blades afterwards, but I haven't quite decided what weapons I want to use just now. Be careful of the pin hitbox. It can be quite difficult to line it up. You want to like you see I whiff it there. It's weird because you don't want to get pinned, but you also don't want to be too far away because then you whiff. While it's in the air, you can Farcaster and then come straight back, and that'll like it might not save you much time, but it might save you some sanity. So that's up to you. But I do like to use the roaming ballista while he's up there. If he's unenraged, you can flinch shot him and it'll land. What else? Try not to break the horn in the air. If you break the horn while he's in the air, so try not to, like, if you're shooting the ballistas or whatever, try not to shoot them on the head as much if you think the horn break is close, because the dunk that you get from breaking the horn in the air lasts much less than you get, much smaller than the opening that you get for breaking his horn while he's on the ground. You saw earlier when I broke his horn, he gave me a really long opening. I got like 3 level 3s off. He only gives you enough time for like 1 or 2 when you dunk him in the air. So it's nice to get the dunk, but at the same time it's a bit of a waste of a good opening. Yeah, so Frostcraft Greatsword, while his head is on the ground, you kind of want to stay a little bit close to the head, and then like take advantage of his little swipes like this. You can't do the one where he does multiple in a row, but when he does the individual ones, that's usually a decent opening. The cone is obviously a good opening. It's kind of like Rajang's laser. You're just hoping for him to use it as much as possible while you stay close to Fatalis. And you'll notice that I'm never really on the complete other side of the map unless I'm like grabbing ballistas or whatever. I try to be a little bit close to Fatalis just because the cone breath otherwise will completely fuck you. What else? Be careful for what I'm doing here. I iframe the explosion he put off. I wouldn't recommend you do that. I'd recommend you roll away. Now you got to err on the side of caution here. That cone has a deceptively large hitbox, and so you can get caught in it while charging your level 3 and get killed by it. That's happened to me a couple of times. But anyway, we are in the second Nova. This will give me a bit of downtime to talk about what we're doing here. So the thing about the second Nova is, if you're right on the opposite side of the map, it can be quite difficult to get here in time. If 8 extended 3 does help because it means you can move a little bit faster, but yeah, it's quite difficult to. So you really, when he's getting close to half health, this is at half health. It happens, by the way. You want to try and not stand right on the opposite side of the map because it can be a little bit risky. If you dodge the wind pressure though, it should be fine regardless. After that second Nova, he goes into his blue flame mode. You'll see here. Even though he does that big animation, his phase is changing and he does get the new moves now, but he doesn't do the blue flames because we broke his horn earlier. And so this fight is actually going to be fairly easy to finish off. Yeah, so Frostcraft Greatsword is what I am using. It's taken me so long to actually getting around to talking about it. 4-piece Velkana, 1-piece Frostfang. You might want to run like 4-piece Velk, 1-piece, I don't know. You can run whatever Frostcraft set you like, or whatever Greatsword set you like, to be honest with you. But like Corv Alpha legs with peak performance might be better, or even like if you can Plunder Blade Fatalis parts. That's another thing I'm going to do. But also this is another cool mechanic. I don't know why I'm doing it, but yeah, if you shoot every 2 Dragon Pods you hit Fatalis with, it will flinch, no matter what. For some reason, it just does. It isn't like the same as the. That doesn't mean that, for example, like Dragon Seal weapons are really good. For some reason, it's just Fatalis. It's just Dragon Pods. 2 Dragon Pods completely mess this thing up. Yeah, so with Frostcraft Greatsword, basically what you do is you go for the chest until he gets staggered and does his pin animation and puts his head to the ground. Then when his head is at the ground, you kind of want to focus the head as much as possible to get the horn break. When he's in this final phase, the chest hitbox is pretty much as good as the head hitbox, and it's more frequently available. So you might want to prioritize going for the test. And you'll see I'm still getting hit a lot, by the way. I'm not that great at the fight yet or anything. But I've gotten my hunts down to sort of consistently under, not under 20 minutes, but around 20 minutes, sort of 21, 22 minutes on average per hunt. So I thought it was a good time to talk about it. You'll see I'm kind of crossing over Fatalis' body quite a lot. There's two reasons for this. Oh, also, when he does the cone move, it leaves an explosion on the ground, so I always roll backwards after doing my level 3. That move that you just saw there, the one where he does a straight beam through the center of his body, that is a reason I try not to stay right in the middle of Fatalis as much as I can. You'll see me always sort of unsheath and then roll forwards to try and get away. There we go. He also has the 2 alternating side breaths, so you got to be a little bit careful of those. I'll try to point out when it happens here. Oh, I'm grabbing the binder at the moment. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. This is an opening for a level 3, but it's also a nice opening to pop one of those. You got to be a little bit careful when running to the other side of the maps with binders and for Dragonators and stuff, because Fatalis does like to spam projectiles. Its projectiles have a lot of AoE, and also its cone breath, for example, will cover a huge amount of the map, and you got to be extremely careful. So yeah, generally speaking, I like to handle it by 3rd level 3, by the way. It's fairly consistent to get 3 level 3 unsheaths during the binder, but it can be a little bit rough to aim because his head wiggles around so much. Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm probably missing some important stuff. But yeah, so I like to sort of slash at the chest and then roll forwards, essentially. Obviously, prioritize the head if you want the guaranteed evil eye drop until you get that second head break. And even just generally, prioritizing the head isn't a bad thing because it's a really good hit zone. But yeah, during final phases, this is the move, by the way. He does one on the right and then one on the left, or left and then right. He alternates. He's doing it, not again. This is the other move. So you'll see the moment I do that, I try to roll and like get away. Oh, and the other thing is, a lot of his openings, his end lag, even though it's already quite short, it gets shorter during this final phase, even if you break the horn. And so openings during the first phase where you could get a full level 3 will often be like less consistent to get a level 3 off. Like this opening here, for example, is much tighter. And the explosion has a bit of a larger radius too. So if it takes you a bit of time to get lined up with the head, you might have to unsheath at a level 2. You still get most of the damage. You'll do like 700 damage on a level 2. Like here, for example, I know I didn't have time to charge, so I just went for the level 1. That's a big thing with Fatalis, is knowing when to unsheath and when like to not commit to a level 3. Yeah, now this is risky. I really shouldn't be going this far from him to grab the binders, but I was kind of hoping to get the second eye break. You'll see here, because I'm going for a fast run rather than like part grinding, I'm not really prioritizing the head that much. I'm just hitting the chest whenever possible. That means that there's a good chance I won't break the head a second time. The second head break is really nice, not just for the guaranteed drop, but also for the long opening it gives. It's enough for 3 level 3s, which is... Oh, of course, I missed the buff. Completely forgot about that. Whoops. Yeah, don't be an idiot, like I am. But yeah, it's enough for 3 level 3s, which is something like 3,000 damage. That is nothing to sneeze at. And you'll see I'm using Temporal Mantle. I'm abusing Temporal Mantle to claw onto him through his attack so I can flint shot him down to the ground. Again, you can just Farcaster when he does that. This move here is... he does it sort of on one side and then spins around. I don't punish it very well here, but hopefully I'll get an example of how I would recommend you punish it in a bit. Man, my throat is dying, by the way. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it was that stream last time, plus the all-nighter I did to cover all the Fatalis content has really messed my throat up. So sorry if I'm talking a little bit weirdly, if there's any weird licky noises. Hopefully there aren't. I'm getting sick of fighting Fatalis in the wall, so I'm begging the cat to come over. And then I think I'm going to lure him towards the Dragonator, maybe? No, apparently not. Oh, yeah, okay, I was lining up for the Dragonator, my bad. You don't want to wait up here for the Dragonator. You do want to wait on the ground, where I was before. You don't want to wait up at the Dragonator to use it, because he will just spam projectiles for days. You got to wait on the ground, and he will still spam projectiles, but he will eventually charge at you if you're on the ground, at least. The Dragonator, if you land both hits, is... Oh, also, the opening on the Dragonator is much shorter than you might expect. It's only enough for 1 level 3. So don't 1 level 3 and maybe like an unsheathing slash. Don't overcommit. But yeah, so the Dragonator itself is 6,600 damage if you land both hits. It's not affected by heavy artillery, so don't worry about that. Yeah, again, another big source of damage for the fight. You can see he's novaing. Also, the novas themselves, I should mention, the final phase novas occur, I believe it's at... so he does his first nova at 75%, which is the one where you stand in the little hole where you were with like the A-lister. The second nova, where you get behind the big barricaded door, happens at 50% health. That's when he goes into his final phase. Then I believe it's 38% for the next nova, 20% for the nova after that, 5% for the Nova after that, and then obviously he dies. Yeah, so that can give you, it can give you a decent indication of how much health he's on. You got to be careful, as we've mentioned, when you stagger his chest or when you part break the chest, he does fall down. Now you can see I should be getting killed, shouldn't I? I have Frostcraft set with negative fire resistance. Well, okay, speak of the devil. But the reason I'm surviving those attacks is because I have 2 procs of Fortify by my side, giving me something like 12 or 1300 defense. So yeah, those fire attacks don't one-shot me. Also, it's because I've broken the horn. Because I've broken the horn, he's not in blue flame mode, and so his attacks are much weaker. Yeah, between those two, you should be fine. Don't forget to eat. Eat for whatever you want. I think eat for safeguard if you haven't already eaten for safeguard. I probably did before I started this quest. But yeah, the extra cart can be really nice. What else? What else? What else? What else? Feel free to throw a little bit of to eat for elemental resistances if the -15 fire, if you're still in one-shot range or if you don't have the decals or whatever. Feel free to add even hard fire res on the set if you really like, although I don't know that I would recommend that. There aren't many good fire res pieces or anything, so there's no real way to get it efficiently without wasting a good level 4 slot. But, you know, if you find that the fire attacks are one-shotting you, despite everything else, then it might be worth putting on... Oh, this is the move, by the way. He's doing the attack here. So if you just stand close to his chest on the other side and just keep wailing, you'll be completely fine. That's how I dodge the move. You got to be a little bit careful with it, especially if you're on the wrong side. But it's a fairly consistent way to not get attacked by it. Oh, okay, we did get the second horn break. I can tell because I'm editing this by the timeline that I was actually really close, and that if I hadn't been if I had like focused the chest a bit more, I probably would have missed that break completely. But look at this. Look at these 3 completely free unsheathing attacks. All of that damage is huge. Now, what else should I mention? 10 minutes left. So, unfortunately, not sub 20 this run. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, be careful. I did not see that move coming, even though it was quite obvious, and so I committed to a move I should not have gone for. I'm just trying to think. What other advice can I give you? Like, the openings themselves are hopefully fairly self-explanatory. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. There's not a huge amount of advice other than just to like try and get used to them if possible. You got to watch out for the pin box, by the way. If you're going for the chest, make sure you're always in a position to roll away. You'll see I've kept 2 dragon pods, and that's because if he had targeted me while I was pinned, I could have used the 2 dragon pods to flinch him, and that would have kept me safe. So he's now at 5% health, so he's basically dead. It shouldn't take too much longer to finish him off. If I'd used that binder as well properly, then it might have been even faster, but what can you do? I've never actually tried bindering him during the Nova. I assume it doesn't work, but I don't know. Be careful of that move. It is the pin animation. If it gets you, it's basically a guaranteed kill. I found that I couldn't even dragon pod him during getting hit by that in previous attempts, but I don't really know enough about the tells to give you a consistent way to dodge it. As you can see, this is not the cleanest run, of course. I want to get a better run at some point, but I think it's kind of cool to show you what attacks he can do and how they can hit you, and how I recover from them too. Sorry, by the way, if the commentary is a little bit dry. This is a 20-minute run, so... I mean, you know. Yeah, I'm basically just out of things to talk about right now. All of the openings are fairly self-explanatory, I hope, at least. And there you go. So it wasn't too bad. Did it in around, I think, 21, 22 minutes. That's kind of my average time at the moment now. Yeah, I'd like to get better, but I also want to try other weapon matchups, so I've kind of stopped with this. But finally, we can actually talk about the set in a little bit more detail. I did cover most of the important stuff right at the start, but I think there are some things I can say, so I'll wait for myself to show all the decorations like I normally do. And then I will talk about the skills in just a second. So, I am using the Alatrion Greatsword. You can use Safi Shatter Splitter and then run like a Agitator Secret if you want, or you can run like a Light Break on it, but I found that Alatrion was probably one of the better Greatswords to run, especially because the purple means you never have to sharpen, which is quite nice. But yeah, other than that, the set is fairly typical. What you would see, I've got an attack augment and an health augment on the Greatsword, I'm pretty sure. Skill-wise, it's just DPS stuff, basically. So Agitator, attack boost. And other than that, we've got a couple of special sort of unique defensive skills that I don't normally run on my sets. And obviously Fortify. So as far as defensive skills go, Evasion Window and Evasion Extender are both really nice skills to have on the set. Evasion Extender is probably a high priority because I find myself rolling away from his explosive moves is more important than iframing through his like head swings, but that might just be my own like noobiness, my own being bad at the game. Maybe you don't even need evade extender. But yeah, other than that, critical draw for the guaranteed crits, focus and crit boost, they're all very typical crit draw, greatsword stuff. We've got Volcano Divinity obviously on here, Frostcraft, and Frostfang. Oh, regarding Frostfang, you can't actually KO Fatalis. It can't be KO'd at all. And so Frostfang isn't really that great for that. However, it does give you a free 5 true raw on your unsheathing attacks. You could probably swap this out for a slightly more skill efficient piece and get some peak performance or something on here. But for me, I do kind of like it, and it's more convenient just for me to use my typical sets, to be honest with you. Yeah, so I think I've basically covered everything, actually, now that I think about it. I think I even covered the skills in like more detail right at the start of the video, so I don't really think I have that much else to talk about. Yeah, if there's anything I've left unclear or anything else you want me to go over, I can do like a follow-up or whatever. Let me know. Keep an eye out. I'll do a video on like the specific mechanics of the fight and how to dodge like the cone breaths and how to dodge like the novas. There are some unique strategies that you can use to dodge them more efficiently, but I haven't got footage of them yet, so I haven't been able to talk about them, and I haven't really verified it myself. But I'm going to be doing a video on like the mechanics specifically. That'll be a little bit shorter than this and a little bit more convenient. So keep an eye out for that. I'll probably be doing insect glaives or dual blade runs next. I'm not 100% certain yet. But either way, I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope this helped. Yeah, good luck with the Fatalis runs. I know this isn't an easy quest. A lot of people are struggling, and for good reason. It took me a good 6 or 7 hours to get the hunt, to get my first clear. So even though I'm beating it consistently now, it did take a little bit of effort getting there. So don't be too ashamed if you're struggling. Yeah, I think that's all I really have to say. So take it easy. Bye bye.